Hey guys, welcome to day number 5 of our bustle making training course. I'm Jared Whitefish, also known as Jao, and today we're actually going to be looking at the top section of our bustles. Today we're going to be measuring, cutting, and applying the zip ties that you seen earlier onto the tops of our spikes. So come along with me, let's get started, let's get this done. Alright guys, welcome back to our bustle making training course. First of all, we're gonna look at our zip ties. If you don't have any zip ties or any of these supplies that we have on the table, click the link down below and we'll get them to you as soon as we can. So first thing we gotta do is we grab our guide feather. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take our handy dandy ruler here and I'm gonna measure about 6 inches. So this really depends on your preference. Some people like to have a lot of feather, or some people like to have a little bit feather, but really it's all up to you. You're the artist, but today we're gonna go with 6 inches. Also, you're gonna want to think about like the size you're gonna do. Like say if you have a tiny tot set or a junior boy set or teen set, again the measurements are gonna vary. So I have 6 inches there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my handy dandy X-Acto knife here, utility knife, and I'm gonna kind of eyeball it as best as I can and just kind of scratch it. And after you're done doing that, I'm not sure if you can see this, but I'm gonna make another line that kind of exposes the white more of the feather, just so we can see it. And so yeah, that's your first feather. You're gonna measure again. When you're doing this part, you have to be very sure about your measurements, like measure 3-4 times even, because you don't want to go back and redo this because it'll take a long time. So what you're gonna do is you're just gonna grab your next turkey spike here, and you're gonna do the exact same thing with it. So about 6, and then make a mark. So do that to all the black ones, and then once you're done those, you can do the white ones. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this one. Make sure it's at 6. So grab my marker, measure from the very 0 line all the way to the 6. You can just go ahead and do that to all of the feathers for now. Then after you're done those, make sure that all of them are the same length. So that's why you have your guide feathers, right? So you're just gonna kind of, take a look at your guide feather and make sure that when you're measuring that it's like the same exact size on this feather as well. So that way you'll know that, hey, this is all gonna be the same length, the feather. Put that down. So what we're gonna do now is actually we're gonna cut the feather. So for me, I like to freehand the cut itself. So I like to measure first at a 90-degree angle, and then after I'm done that, I'll twist my hand and I'll go at a 45. This is optional as well, but what this does, it adds more of a sharper look to the bustles. Also, it adds more room for tying on the hackles and putting on the zip ties as well in the later process. So you're gonna want to go do that. So cut that off. We're gonna make a little mess here, but that's okay. We can always clean that up and then continue. So I'm gonna cut that. So yeah, that's how it's gonna look. So after we're done doing this, we're gonna take our zip ties. If you had already bought your own zip ties, then great. And if you have bought them off of us, they're gonna look like this. They're gonna be cut at the end already. But if you already bought them, then go ahead and just snip those off right now, and then you'll get that off the way. So we're gonna add these on now, the zip ties. You take your handy dandy masking tape. Then when you're doing this, you're gonna wanna leave a little bit overlap onto the spike itself, like from where the cut is. Make sure that it's nice and tight. Make sure you apply pressure. Not too much tape, but just enough so it sticks on there. Then you're gonna do it a couple more times here, just until you know the whole. So I like to go 3 times, one at the end, one at the middle, and one at the bottom. You're done doing that. What this overlap does, it actually adds more support and more strength to the spike itself, because sometimes when we're dancing, it'll kind of bend it here, and this is like a weak spot for the spike to break. So that's why it's good to always overlap a little bit over your spike like this, and make sure that it's tight and you have like a good tight grip on there with the masking tape. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna make the lines where the hackle is actually gonna sit. What we like to do is we like to kind of space them far apart and more than usual, because what it does is it shows more color onto the hackles, shows more of the color. So we're gonna go 2.5 actually. So I'm gonna go 2.5 here, measure 2.5 exactly. So that'll be right there, and then measure another 2.5. That'll be 5. So yeah, that's where the hackles are actually gonna go. So this is kind of long for my liking right now, the 11. So maybe I'll go to like 9 at least. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go up to like 9 for this part. Cut it off at 9, and then we're gonna get our handy dandy tool here, and then we're gonna cut her off right there. So that's perfect right there. 9 inches from the spike all the way to the top. If you'd like to continue that all throughout the spikes, and then I'll do a quick demonstration for you here. Just let me tape this on real quick. Make sure it's nice and tight. Make sure to overlap some zip tie at the bottom. So if I look at this measurement here, measure at 9. Sometimes the spike itself will be like down here, like it'll be down here, like it'll stop there, and sometimes it'll be longer. So when that happens, what you can do is you take your excess zip tie that you cut off. So you cut these at 9, then there should be at least 2 inches left of zip tie left. So you take your excess zip tie, then you simply put it at the end where the spike ends. Then you take your masking tape, then you just simply tape it on both sides. So what this is doing is it's adding more support for your hackle, so it's not so flimsy in the ending process. There was a few in here that were kind of short, and you're gonna run into those. You can do that. Just remember to save your excess zip ties when you're doing your spikes. So I'm actually going to be doing some more feathers for you guys. You can follow along or do it at your own pace. It doesn't matter. So here we go. So I'm just gonna measure. That looks like 6 and a little bit. So I have my fresh spike here, no mark on top. So that here. And then when I'm done doing this, I usually just take a look at my guide feather here, the feather we already cut out. Yeah, just make sure that it's lined up as perfect as I can get it. And when you're doing this, make sure that the feather is not on this side, because it'll be a different measurement, because this will be the one, it'll be at the top, this feather. So everything that goes on the right of it it'll be lined up perfect this way. Make sure it's on the right. Like if you have a right, then be on the right. If it's going left, then it'll obviously go on the left. So that one's done. Then a quick way you can get through all of these feathers real fast is just do this part first, and then you can do the cutting next after that. So it's gonna measure here 6 and a bit. So kind of just eyeball it. Take a look at my guide feather here. Yeah, that's perfect. Put that aside, so it's already done. Take your next feather here, measure 6 and a bit. And when you're doing this, make sure that you're measuring the side of it, because if you're measuring like this, it's kind of harder to like mark it. So just measure the side of it. Make sure you're holding it one hand here, kind of multitask, and then just kind of eyeball where the 0 is. Go like this. Look at it again. So just from the looks of it, I can kind of see that this one's kind of on the higher side. So I'm gonna actually erase this and redo it again. So just make sure that everything's all good. Measuring about there. Looking at that is perfect. So got that measurement good. On to our next feather. Measure on the side, 6 and a bit. Take your guide feather, measure, and so yeah, that's perfect right there. Also, when you're measuring these, make sure that you take a look at your other lines as well, just to make sure that everything's in correct straightness here. Yeah, sometimes you'll have to remark your spikes as well, because sometimes your fingers go on them and then you kind of brush away the mark. So it's always good to take a look at your measuring and your marks so you don't mess up anything. So next we're gonna be doing our black spikes. We do this a little bit different. So I'm gonna find my guide feather here that I already marked out. So we already marked this one out. It's our guide feather. I'm gonna go ahead and get our X-Acto knife. There it is. Make sure not to cut yourself on this. And if you're underage doing this, make sure you have an adult around so they can help you, or someone older. Just be careful when you're doing this. So that one's good. So that's all I wanted to show you real quick. So I'll see you in the next video. Thanks. Peace.